Hello there, guys. How you doing? Good evening. My name is Yalek, and we are going to be doing a Fat Fingers video today. For those of you who don't know, Fat Fingers is a Boom Beach 5-man task force dedicated to blowing shit up at such a high rate that eventually we get ourselves to the top of the leaderboard. Which, well, we might come back to that, but we've had a banner week, kind of. I have not had a banner week. I have actually not been with the team for much of the week, and I did want to say a special thank you to the guys for carrying the extra load while I have been occupied with other things. We had a family emergency, and I just didn't really have the time to devote to the op hits in my absence. Now, I believe this is as high on the leaderboard as I have been able to show you. This is our operation for yesterday, just finished recently, half hour ago, I want to say. Yeah, roughly. And so we have just begun a new operation. While I was away, I was able to jump in with some intel support, and I was able to jump in midweek and do a double dip. So I got 2 hits for 2 operations. But mostly it's been the rest of the team carrying a bit of an extra load over the past week. And in particular, Sven took care of a lot of extra hits, and so thank you for that. But all of the rest of the guys stepped up with the extra intel, because I was able to help some, but not as much as I usually do. So over the course of the past week, the guys were at a really, really great run of operations, and Argus is up and in on Axiom. That's an interesting Axiom, so that might be worth looking at later. Hopefully, well, fingers crossed. Good luck, Argus. So, the guys had a really fantastic week. I mean, look at these force points: 1,024 4 days ago, 1131, that's a max day. 6 days ago, 1131 yesterday. Well, this today, it's the one that just finished up. 905, 952, 952. These are great days. And so over the course of the past week, we're going to jump to a different app for a second here. The guys were actually able to propel us to a new force point high. So this is on my Discord, but I had these screenshots saved. So if you look at the top picture there, the bottom left-hand side, highest amount of force points held, 18,513. That was a few days ago, May 2nd, this says. So this is a very old team. So years and years old, has done multiple leaderboard pushes, has never held as many force points as that, or has never held more than that. So that happened over the past week. And then also from that same day, the team happened to hit number 6 on the leaderboard, which is the highest that we have reached on this particular push. That is also the highest that this team has reached since the entire previous push, which involved me and involved Sven Slinkin. I don't think any of the other guys here, none of the other guys were there for that. But our last push, we got up to number 6 at one point in the world, or one point in time many years ago. This team got up to number 2, but that was before we joined it. So, pretty good week. Obviously, we hope for better. A little bit of luck. We will push even higher than that. Damn. Anyway, so much for luck. I probably jinxed it. We had a great day yesterday, and it was a 5 blue lines day. I've not been able just to run through one of these in quite a while, so I figured we would do that. While we do that, going to point out, so first hit is the 298 base for this operation, and this was franchise. So we've got a brick, Machina, and he went with a brick. We've got CMOs in the weapon lab this week, and there are just CMOs everywhere. There was a CMO, on that Axiom that you just saw Argus trying to attack. So it is interesting with the CMOs. It does make for some different kinds of hits. You have to strategize things. You have to do things a little bit differently. So there's good and there's bad. It's fun. It's frustrating, but the CMOs, for what it's worth, do make operations very, very interesting. the health on this Machina, 904, so that's a little over 2 million, and in this case, Fran is just dealing with the SEMO by delaying his hero. He held Brick back so that the Zookas would get ahead. The Zookas will, get shot up a little bit by the SEMO, but you're only going to lose, a handful of them. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shocks, it looks like. Starting from 12, or at least that's where I'd be starting, but he has done that with 4. Gonna take an extra second longer. That SEMO is still sniping girls up there. So, I mean, it does take enough girls away to be... Woo! Oh, damn, that got hot at the end. You see that? Just everything fired. He's still sitting there shooting, and everything had turned. Everything finally had the time to fire as his girls were still working. The SEMO, again, right to the very end, is sniping away on that core. And, oh, what do we got there? You can't even tell how many Zookas are left, but we'll check out how many are left. But hey, dead is dead, right? So, let's see, he had... started with 112, and he had 8 of them left. So, 8 girls left to spare. That's the way I look at that. So, that was the 298, and then we had Dot on Tapir. And we'll watch this. Now, interestingly, so this task force comes out of the Triangle 9 family of task forces. SEMO here too. In this case, the easy workaround is just to go to the 1 o'clock parking spot up here, as opposed to the usual parking spot down here next to the building health. That is exactly 2 million on this core. So, the last time we pushed with Fat Fingers, Sven and I, we had a player named Seek and Destroy, who after we finished that push, retired from the game for a while, said he was going to uninstall and everything, he was done with it. Great player, and he has recently reappeared in the 9 family chat. And I don't know if this is true. He says it's been 3 years since he played Boom Beach. I find that hard to believe. I want to say I would have believed 2, but 3 is a little hard to believe. But one way or another, whether it's 2 or whether it's 3, that means that Sven and I have been at this pretty much continuously for that entire time. If that's 3 years, then that's really, really kind of crazy to think about. This whole 5-man game, 10-man game, solo or bust operation kind of action. Very nice little walk here. 3 shocks from where he's going to be. That rocket launcher is sitting a little low. So, 2 million we said on that. He did lose a couple of girls on the walk to a machine gun down lower close to the beach. Anyway, it is very nice to see Seek back. 1 mortar is going to pick a few of his girls off, but he's actually handling this pretty easily. Gee, I guess you could chalk some of the SEMO losses in the previous hit, franchise's hit. You probably could say that, I mean, that definitely made his life harder compared to the number of losses that, I mean, Dot lost a couple of Zookas down here, but you know, that SEMO picking off 10 or 15 girls or however long it takes to traverse the SEMO's range. He stood there for a lot longer firing. The health on his was not very much higher than the health on Dot's. So, either way, dead is dead, and we press on. So yeah, I mean, we've definitely been at this for at least 2 years. In various iterations of 5-man task forces or 10-man task forces. We were Dick Thumbs. We were 5 Blue Lines. We were here the last time this task force pushed. We were in Infamous 9, which managed to hit number 1. We spent a while on an indie team with a friend, Benny. If you're out there, hi Benny. We ended up leaving there. I think I left first, but I just had too much going on, but that team later ended up becoming number 1 in the world. Benny and Kuh, if you guys are out there. I believe they're both retired now. Also, we were both in Badgers for a bit, various Badgers teams, and now we're back doing this. Either way, That is an awful long time. It's interesting that he's gone with 2 boats of bombers here. Now, you saw the health earlier. I clicked on that. So 6, 1.4 million, 1.2, 1.4 million. But in order to farm faster, he's decided to sacrifice an extra boat. Normally, I do a lot of bomber farming, but I do it with 1 boat generally. So he's gone with 2. Which is interesting, because there are a lot of shocks here. So I guess that's just the play. We're going to get a whole bunch of GBE, and we're just going to shock everything. But we'll watch. So, anyway, thought it was cool. Welcome back to the game, Seek. He says that he is going to be a casual player now, but I'm not sure I believe that. He has a standing invitation to return to Triangle 9 whenever he wants to. I'm betting we'll see him back here eventually, but what do I know? Anyway, I know I'm not retiring anytime soon. Still farming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He's working on 20 and 21, 22 buildings right now. 3 GBE apiece, so he's farmed almost like 65 or 70 GBE over there. That's pretty cool. Slightly different play. And I farm a lot, but, you know, that's not something I would normally go for. I like it, though. Again, with 6 boats Azukas, he's got, I believe, 5 damage. 5 damage, 6 GBE. So, you have a lot of damage, but you do need the GBE to get all of these shocks. Beautiful walk. I hate this walk. That was a nice little transition there. That corner that you have to turn. So yeah, I mean, a bunch of extra shocks. You want the extra GBE. We'll see how many shocks he ends up using. 1 smokes his kill zone, which is pretty GBE conscious. So I'm also wondering if he had calculated this ahead of time. Cannot be sure. I'd have to ask. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 over on the machine guns over here. A lot of shocks. But even with the 6 boats, Brick got herself shot immediately, of course. She likes to do that. Even with the 6 boats, he's pretty much, like, all of his Zukas are wrapped around this machine gun. Cool. Yeah, only 1.4 million, as we said, so he had plenty of damage in order to finish that easily. And that was the 226 for this operation. My hit, I had the 190, and I'm not going to lie to you, like, I was worried about being rusty after, you know, playing very sporadically over the past week. What do we have for time here? Only 13 minutes. Huh. I usually talk a lot longer than that. But we do have 2 hits more to go, so we'll see. This was an ugly Tarsier. The health is not all that high, so 5.5, 1.1, 1.3, and a little bit of change. 1.3 million and a little bit of change. A lot of shocks on this one. So depending on where you wanted to park, there's just a lot going on. This blaster here does not help things. Standard parking spots. This is the most common parking spot. We'll call that 5 o'clock. 7 o'clock over here is pretty common. 9 o'clock is pretty common. Once in a while I've parked up here, and once or twice I think maybe I parked over here. None of those options are really great in terms of, like, minimizing your shocks. So for example, in Dot's hit with Tapir, there was a CMO on the left hand side, so he went to the 1 o'clock parking spot, and over there he was well out of range of at least one of the rocket launchers, saving himself a shock. Here there were just not great options for doing that, and I only have 5 GBE, 6 damage, 5 GBE, so I do not have the GBE. I don't think anybody would, but I do not have the GBE just to go around shocking everything that I need to shock here. So my play ended up being a little different. I don't know how I managed to keep delay on this rocket, the one that I have tagged over here. But I did. So that was the idea. Come in sideways. That was to save a smoke somewhere. And then I'm going to park in the usual spot, 5 o'clock. And we are going to use a critter wall. This is a trick that I'm very fond of doing when there are just too many shocks. So what you do in this case is there are some things that you absolutely have to shock. But in this case, let's see, so here I need to shock these guys, flamethrowers. Blaster and a couple mortars will range my Zookas, so need to shock those. Back here, this is 2 shocks. There's probably a place where you could make that 1. In fact, I'm almost certain there's a place you could make that 1 shock, but I wasn't about to risk that. So that was 2 shocks. I need to shock these things over here, this little 5-pack of stuff. And so in this case, that means I'm going to be leaving these 2 rocket launchers here just ignored. Well, not ignored, not shocked. But I'm going to counter that with a critter to the left of where I am parked, which will be coming out shortly. Now, critter was a little early. You do have to make sure the critter gets down, because otherwise the rocket will target your Zookas. Immediately followed that up with a second critter box, and that bought me plenty of time for my Zookas to wreck this core. Again, not a very high health core. But it's always a fun play doing that, because well, I mean, you're staring down the barrel of a rocket launcher and you've got nothing but these little critters protecting you on that side. So, fun play. Good when you know you have the damage to kill something within about 8 or so seconds. And if the hit goes on longer than that, you're going to get blasted. So you really had better hope that you get it dead within that 8 or so seconds. Finally, we have Argus. He is on the 155, which is assembly. This was not a really nice assembly. Very hot beach, which means you have to use extra smoke, or maybe use a boat of heavies to distract this rocket launcher. This rocket launcher here is going to limit your farming ability coming up the shore here. Normally, I just farm all of this when I do assembly. Argus makes what I think is a very smart choice here. He also sacrifices 1 boat of bombardiers, but then he moves them over out of rocket launcher range, and he can sit here and farm himself a good amount of extra GBE. Let's see, he's gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the shoreline, and he can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 buildings on top of the 6 that he got at shoreline, which he needs because he chose to go with extra smokes, 2 smoke landing on the beach, and work around the extra shock launcher, or rocket launcher, excuse me, that way. I think I probably would have still tried to work with a flag or a flare landing here. I don't know if I would have done this, and this is why Bullet is getting very far ahead of the Zookas here, because he was dropped at the same time she was, or he was dropped at the same time the ladies were, and he's much faster than they are. Now, this is an interesting thing to me, because I do assembly my own way. I have a couple of ways of doing assembly. I never do assembly this way, the way he's about to do it. And it's just interesting. There's so many different styles of play. This, I guess, is the one that he prefers. I used to go with the bullet shock on assembly. Kind of stopped doing that because it's very, very finicky. He goes with this option of flaring this flamethrower back in the corner, and using, when the girls walk around corners, they walk in these thin lines. They are splitting around this flamethrower here, but the corner will keep them, even though he's flared a defense, the corner will keep them from walking like crazy and stuff. So he just flares the flamethrower, and Bullet from there, Bullet will stop. Well, you see where Bullet will stop, because that's where he stopped. And that means he has these 3 flamethrowers back here taunted. And then he flares the core a little bit early, and goes with, I think, 3 or 4 shocks. He goes with a 4th shock down here on this shock launcher. Don't think that was necessary. But definitely the 3 shocks here. But yeah, he just, he gets Bullet in this certain position. This is how he likes to play it. Again, not something I do, but always an option. Health on this is not too high, 1.2 million, 1.2 million or so. So, very good operation, max points operation. I looked at our place on the leaderboard a little bit earlier, just before I started making this video, and we were still sitting at number 12. So some of the reset for some of these other teams around us must have happened in the meantime, jumping us up to number 8. But anyway, been a very good week, mostly without me. I asked the guys, they were doing so well without me, I asked them if they were sure they wanted me to come back. They said they did, but who knows. We've got people moving around in the background, so I think it might be time to call it a day on this video. Anyway, like, thumbs up, leave a comment, cheer the guys on, whatever, and I will catch you guys later. Take care.